Okay, greetings. I honor you for watching here on YouTube Live at Blooming Light. The sound is now turned on. It is Sunday, September the 21st, 2025. It's approximately 10:31 a.m. Central Standard Time in the U.S. and Beaumont, Texas. Bear with me here. Okay. Okay. So I put LOL do over, y'all, because you know what? Ironically enough, I usually don't go right back to my lives and listen to myself right away. I usually won't listen to the recording until like maybe a day or two later, and even then, I only listen in part. So today, for whatever reason, I just so happened to decide to click on it and see what happens. And good thing that I did, because the entire hour and 30 minutes, there was no sound. And so I am actually totally shocked and surprised that there was anybody at all that liked it. So I said to myself, I said, and chances are it must be my enemy. Okay, because, you know, and I could be wrong. Maybe it's a supporter, but it's just that, there was no sound. So what was there basically to like? Okay, so I kind of laughed to myself about that. I said, well, maybe it's meant for me to do it over again. And maybe the way it's going to come out now is the way it's meant, okay, to be heard. And so the last title of the last video was The Truths, or All the Truths Come Out. The truth is in the communications. Okay, all the truth is in the communication, even when people aren't being truthful and forthcoming. And in the other video, I was basically sharing, what some of the skills or some of the tools or trades that you get when you, neurodivergent, but when you're a survivor of, long-standing types of toxic abuse, whether it's narcissistic or not, but just major gaslighting or major projection onto you and high level manipulation, which is spell work. That's going to be discussed later, because again, there are people who really, they believe within themselves, they already have a negative connotation about witchcraft. They have a negative connotation about even the term witch, without even realizing that they are one and that they are practicing, even if it's not in the TV way or the upper echelon, the elites and those who know a lot about energy work. Okay, I don't want to get too deep into that because that's not over here. So you learn this. It's always in communication. The only thing is, I think, is because of our conditioning and brainwashing and our lifestyles and everything that they're throwing at us, we can't pay attention, you know what I'm saying, to catch a lot of this stuff, moving too fast, doubt it because we're taught to do so. But even when you were to go, if you were to go on the scholarly side of communications, I took a little bit of communication courses when I was in college, I think maybe 2 courses. But that's where I learned that communication is, my math might be wrong, okay, but 80% body language, 20%, or maybe 60% body language. Hell, but basically, to me, I always found that fascinating that most of the percentage was not on the verbal. That always kind of like interesting, because we emphasize so much communication, right? Talking. Okay, now with that being said, It's always in the communication. People are going to tell you, man, I wish I can go back to, I wish I was a good one. I said all sorts of shit, bitch. Oh, but maybe I'm meant to do it streamlined. So anyway, so I'm like, oh, well. So case in point, real time, without making this be just another conversation about cool words and shit, and then, but in real life, you can't, you know what I'm saying? Can't do nothing with it. And it's like, nah, I'd rather make something to where we could like somehow connect the dots. The bottom line is we cannot make anyone be forthcoming, truthful, honest, fair, just. That's just not going to work. And it's not about your eloquence. It's not about our intelligence, articulation. It's not about creating the sandwich effect. It's not about the tone. It's not about all those things, which I was a person that spoke and believed heavily on those things. But that's not going to serve if the goals and the intentions and the motives of all parties involved aren't the same. And it's not going to matter if there is a lack of honor and respect, reciprocity for all parties. Typically, and I only say that because typically human nature, human tendencies is anything that that many or a lot may feel is inferior to them, not as good, not as worthy, not as deserving. There's a tendency to be disrespectful, and there's a tendency to believe that you don't have to, or you shouldn't, or there's no need to be. You see that? I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying it's fair. I'm just saying that that's what I've come to gather is at the core and the base of there's a lack of value to you as a person. And their goals and intentions trumps any type of what you own. Fair communication, clear, open, and honest. So now, what do you do with that in real life? Because this is life. This is life. This is what we're going to be dealing with. Okay, it ain't gonna be just rainbows and sunshine, confetti. Not in this planet. Not in this realm or plane of existence. So what we're supposed to do with that? When it's something pertinent, serious, some cases life or death, some cases things that could have made or break your life, things that could have put your life on a different trajectory altogether, the children's life, when it's things that are serious. What do you do with it? That's where this is coming in. Because you know how infuriating it can be, especially as a survivor? You already know. How infuriating it can be when you go in circles talking to people only to realize you're going in circles. And your energy is expended, and you're talking, and they're taking recon, or casting spells, texting somebody, When you're having a verbal conversation, when we're having a verbal conversation, let's say this case, it's not in person. You get the added benefit of watching body language if the conversation is being had in person. So, let's say not in person. Let's say this is over the phone, okay? You don't get any visuals. This is just all over the phone, okay? That's where the listening skills of communication is going to come in strong, the active listening. But not only that, all of the other nuances with active listening that you can pick up on, all nuances, okay, including things that they don't say and the things that they do, and how they say and not say both. Okay? In that, even though everybody is not, we're all different. Male, female, different culture, different background, all of these factors, right? And everybody certainly don't have all the same communication styles or levels or development. Even if you mix all of that up and reduce it, you can still utilize it in that way. And here I'll give some examples. So you're looking for the truth, okay? Let's say you're wanting the truth. That's your goal pertaining to an important matter. When you're dealing with major abusers, one of the things that I've learned, whether they're abusers, flying monkeys, or enablers. Let me put it this way, because, there's going to be people who want to wiggle out like, I didn't, but you're a flying monkey, though. And that's a technical term. That is not something that's meant to be sassy. That's a technical term. You're an enabler. You are engrossed with the abuser. Okay? Which already puts you in, you're compromised already. Which means that you are under their influence, whether you know you're under their influence or not. So that means this. Then by proxy, they are a manipulator and an abuser. Because if they get opportunity to speak with you and opt to still not communicate clearly and truthfully and honestly, then they're doing the same thing as by proxy. But even then you get the truth. You still get your truth. So these are things that we can do, or start to, you pick it up naturally and then you sharpen it over time. That's the best I can say. And it becomes easier and it becomes less heavy, because when you move forward in life, it's not going to be so much recovering of massive lifetimes of betrayal. It's going to then be just what I would say maintenance of day-to-day, in life. It's not going to be this deep, dank, dark, weird, So, okay. You're wanting the truth, right? And it's sincere. There's no, let's just say for all intents and purposes, you do not have any hidden dishonor. You're not trying to abuse anybody, that you're just simply trying to get to the truth. When this is the case, you have to go in asking clear-cut questions. You have to be prepared for that. Otherwise, In some cases, you'll find yourself talking about everything but what you wanted to talk about. You find yourself, you know what I'm saying? It'll just, yeah. So, and you know, if you know that people try to like misdirect and change it into something else, and you really have to try to figure out a way, or if you can, figure out a way how to go in and be, without being too harsh or off-putting. You can state what you know what you're asking, and allows, and then that's where your active listening is going to come in. So, for an example, you say over the phone, do you know anything about blase blase? Do you know anything at all about a gift, an inheritance, a deed to a property, or a piece of a property, or do you have any knowledge at all? I'm just saying, let's say that's a truth that you're trying to get to. I know that there's other ways. Somebody's going to say there's other ways you can get to it in database and stuff. I know. I get that. But let's say before you go there, you were trying to talk directly to the people. Okay? To see if any of them would have the guts to do so. Now, do you know anything about that? Anytime, at any point, from anybody. And the answer, again, if the answer is a clear yes or no, I think I spoke of this the other day, right? It's in the conversation, because typically, I know manipulators can do that as well, because in my case, my mother did that, okay? But some people aren't as, you know, you have degrees of manipulation, and then when you're a manipulator by proxy, it's not something that you naturally want to do, and so your shit ain't gonna be as sharp because you naturally don't roll that way. So the way you naturally roll is gonna come out. You see that? Because when I approached the birther, you know, I could hear it in her voice though. See, I picked up the other cues. I know her first and foremost, but you know, I also can pick up the voice inflections, the way, yeah, the whole little vibey vibe. Okay, whoop. That's gaslighting, by the way. When someone states the opposite and they know what the truth is, but they're trying to convince you of a different reality. So, you know, she right away, I had asked her verbally over the phone. This was probably around January 2022. Because I think it was around my birthday time, because she had reached out, you know, the blah, blah, blah. And, you know, this is when we have a conversation about, she was like, I know you were planning to relocate, and, you know, you always wanted to, you know, blase, move out of state and stuff. I was like, I am. And, you know, she mentioned Texas at that time. So that was one of the clues that they had already had their hands and knowledge in that as well. Remember, I said the truth is in the communication. It's just a different angle we got to come from to see it. Okay? So in the communication with her, and with all those cues that I'm trying to explain here in ways we can use it, because we can't force people. We got to settle here. We can't force people. It's not going to work. I have an adopted brother who had to go round for round with birther regarding a matter he had with her regarding some charges or credit, money, something on his credit, things of that nature. Round for round. And according to him, at that time, you know, he said she wouldn't admit it, but he pushed, she got proof, he did something. Like, he just kept pushing, 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 pushing. And it was only up until, you know, according to what he spoke of, what he told me. Now, since I'm not there and I wasn't in the whole shebang bang, I can't say, you know what I'm saying, what happened for fact. I'm simply saying the way he put it at that time, okay, was basically almost literally had to threaten pressing charges or something against her in order to get her to start making some kind of payments to him so he could get it off of his whatever. Okay? So that's the point that I'm making. You can go round for round. I said all that just to say that you will exhaust yourself. Okay? And chances are you're still not going to get that. So what do you do? What can we do to empower ourselves? It's something that we were brainwashed early to no longer do in our society. Even though communications in studies is said to be either 60-40, 80-20, which tells you that it's about everything else other than what we say in our mouth, more than anything else. So, but we're taught and conditioned to doubt ourselves, okay? And pulling it, I knew then with her. Because I kept for a while now, and I didn't understand why. I was seeking out information. It was where I was having dreams, excuse me. I was seeking out information, but I still had a lot going on at the time. I was still going through the initial, I'm still being stalked. I was being stalked then, by the way, those of you don't know. You know, all of that that ain't a Texas thing. Just so you know. I recall people coming and sitting by me and being weird at the gym in Nevada at one of my favorite gyms that I had started going to, and it was an off vibe energy, and my crystal bottle, shit was telling me shit there, but I was too early in the game, and it was like, you know, so, and then my natural personality kind of works against me. That's why I had to shift up the game. My actual natural personality gets me in trouble. Oh, yes, it does. Because it's bubbly. It's all, you know, hi, and shit, you know. She's like smiling, and she's like, bitch, what you smiling for? You know, and that ain't, you know, people you pray. You know what I'm saying? You know, your ass is praying for the predators, bitch. Anyway. So, let me stay on track. In a conversation with her, I pulled out that information as well. And we have to learn how to go, okay, those oddities. And then you go to other people. It's sometimes what they're saying and what they're not saying, and all the vibrations and energy around that. You have to also take into account in cases where you know the person, so you want to take your history and they're, you know, with them as well, because that's going to help all of that versus having 30 conversations with the same person. You want to know a truth. You ask. I gave the example. Okay. The the latter example, when I was talking about you ask someone and they'll say something like this, um, well, as pertains to that, anything to do with inheritance or a gift, you'll have to talk to so and so about that. The question was, is do you know of anything to do with that? Let's break it down so it can make more sense. Do you know of anything? Have you heard of anything? Do you know of anything about that? If the answer is a clear no, meaning that they have not been made aware, okay, then the natural answer would be once again a no. Or if they did, yeah, sure, I heard about it, but I don't know much about anything beyond that. I did hear, I don't know what happened. I don't, I heard about some kind of inheritance. Or, you see what I'm saying? The fact they're giving you your truth and the fact that they're diverting you to someone else. And if you know, like I said, if this is a family type dynamic situation, and you know, shit, people, bitch, motherfuckers talk too much all up in the get up. You really think you're gonna convince me to believe that all you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Y'all know what I'm saying? Yeah, we all know what we came up under and how. So it's like, okay, especially if there's anything major, we're really supposed to be convinced that for real, like we really supposed to believe that within the that circle, that's not something that was came up at any given point at all in 1,000 years. They're giving you the truth. Also, oh, there. I need to go there. Okay, so in another type of a scenario, let's say, you know, you are the scapegoat and you are healing and moving on, and you're really trying to, you know, get to truths and clear the air. You know, you get exasperated and you move on because it gets exasperating. The abusers is engrossed in everybody's energy. It's like a shrine and a cult. It's like the people can't think or make decisions, okay, by themselves without, grown adults, 5'9", 5'10", 6'1", it's that kind of vibe, okay? Hold on one second. Let me see this really quickly.
What's your size doing?
He probably playing, he got all that energy, he probably want to play. Go play with him, brother. Go play with him, brother. With
First, we
feathers.
all have to run,
Yeah, because he has to get all that, he has a lot of energy. So he starts looking like he on that
Well,
stuff. And his ears, yeah. Um, so, anywho, again, these are subtle things you can start picking up. And if these are people, like I said, like family folks that you already know the vibes. You already know in terms of like people are scared to say anything or they feel like they need permission. And if you feel like you need permission, let me just pause and veer off a minute. As an adult person in, you know, um, any situation with your friends and family, and there's a frequency or a vibration and you feel scared, even you may not use the term scared, it is something though, intimidated, scared, whatever, some people get triggered by that word, but it's like it's something. that makes you feel like this will be wrong, even if it's not actually wrong. Speaking truthfully to other family, it's wrong to be running our mouths to folks that ain't family, sharing information and business and butting in and doing shit. I mean, that's, yeah. Okay. So they're giving you the truth still, though. In the indirect way, you're getting closer and closer to truths. Um, so let's say you had a conversation with that same person, and for whatever reason, I guess topic shifts from that. Um, as you explain, maybe the hardships, the abuse, the situation, the things that um, going on from within the family perspective, which is why you have are where you are, or whatever. Um, then let's say the person, I'm trying to make this real life, because how do you apply this shit to life as you're living it? So I'm trying to give examples of how this is done. Um, so let's say that the person makes a statement or a comment within that conversation along the lines of, you know, all parents parent differently, you know, back in the days, certain things were not considered, to be, abusive, and these are things you can't do now, which in my opinion, our people love to use that reference as if we are, that's just me, as if like we make those statements in pride, and we still are oblivious to our own state. We make it in pride, like in a day, we love that abuse culture. That's where we came from. In a day, I get knocked across the room. You can't do that now. All parents parent differently in order to, teach lessons and stuff like that, and you know, so forth. And then you make a comment along the lines of, should be understood, but toxic is toxic, abuse is abuse. Okay? But now, what truth did you pull from that, though? And if you're talking about you as an adult and you were having this conversation later in life, and we're talking about adult matters, okay? Adult matters. What does that statement really have to do with who you are and where you are as an adult and the conversation that is being had pertaining to things? But that's how you're going to get the truth. It's implying that it's unspoken, but it's implying that the person is aware of something that a parent, a sibling, or mother-like figure has done in the name of so-called parenting, possibly, and, teaching a lesson. So let me pause right here and say that is ill-fitting for an adult world, but what narcissists do is infantile their targets. And if you were to look it up, if you were to type it in, infantile, what is narcissistic abuse, infantile target, they'll give you the whole layout and breakdown of what it looks like. Teaching a lesson, okay? You're not teaching a grown-up, your grown adult child. That is ill-fitting and is out of place. And no matter what people's beliefs are about that, at the end of the day, criminality is criminality, fraud is fraud, baby. Lying and saying that there's something wrong with the person, or they're in a hospital, or they gave permission to somebody else, or anything but what the truth is, that's not parenting, that's theft, that's greed, that's misrepresentation of documentation, paperwork, that's purposely evading information or blocking someone from receiving proper information so that they can show up and speak for themselves. So before I get too far deep into that, let me stay the topic. So you pull the truth off of that undertone that there is possibly some knowledge of something, and that these people withheld it in the name of teaching you a lesson, which only confirms why you don't want anything to do with these people to start. Because you're not their child. You're an adult. And there is no room in the judicial system, in the legal system, in any type of proceedings such as this pertaining to inheritances or deeds or things of that nature. There's no room for laziness. There's really no room, even on the law side, in terms of these so-called pieces of communication of people emailing you and texting you. Yeah, I'm going there. Emailing you, see, and this is why the collective does what they does with that too. Rando, out of nowhere emails of fake concern. What abusive families do not do is communicate directly and clearly. Not to the target, not to the scapegoat. Because, listen, so they wanted to be able to say, I attempted to, in these types of cases, they wanted to be able to say, I attempted to reach out, I emailed them, and they didn't respond. Well, it's negligence on the side of the courts, the judge, the lawyer, the notary bitch, all motherfuckers. It's negligence on their part if they did not read those emails in totality, and if they did not ask or further elaborate as to, well, okay, fair enough, I can see that they didn't reply, you really don't have anything to do with that, but I can also see that you did not include in this email anything to do with why we're here. You did not include that. You emailed and you said, hi, how are you? I miss you. And if you're estranged from your family, if there's already a disconnect, it makes sense that they're not responding. Or if they're responding, that they're responding in a way of, hey, do you know anything, blah, blah, or, let them know that this is not going to end well. All of these things were baits to see how much you know, or to get you into some kind of, ranting out in an email. Okay. But all of those things are neither here nor there. I'm helping you all collective to cut to the chase, and when it's time for you to stick it, because it's going to come a time for that. Because none of that matters. Toxic families always want what? Power, control, and leverage over who? The scapegoat, which is who? The one they thought is the weakest link, which is who? The one that they least respect. the one that they feel is least deserving. And since that's their vibration, then they convince themselves that they all deserve it better, and they convince themselves that it is okay to withhold that information. And so what they do though, see the head fuck here? We need to see this. The world needs to see it and understand it and see it for what it is and not make any excuses. Do you see that major head fuck? Reaching out to you as if they care and concerned. But it was really ulterior motive to attempt to cover their bases to say they contacted you. Without providing why. Abusers are never going to just be straight, because these are separate factors, and that's something that the court, the judicial system need to be held accountable and liable for as well. Your personal issue with your family doesn't have no room in the judicial system as it pertains to these types of proceedings. Your issue, you mad, they mad, you feel they don't deserve, you don't appreciate it. This is not that type of court. Okay, this is about herbage, some shit. So, and then this is where they manufacture. Listen, I need y'all to see the head fuck, and I need you all to see why the targeted populations become what they become and approach things the way they do. So they're scheming, essentially. When they're reaching out with "we miss you," that's not authentic. When they're reaching out and saying, you know, I don't feel right, my soul doesn't feel right. That might be true, but the reason for it is because they have dishonor regarding you. They're contacting you, okay? It's a head fuck, and it's disrespectful, and it's very deceptive. It is deceptive to the target, but it's deceptive to anybody and everybody to give off the vibe and the appearance of "we care," when it was always a plot and scheme going behind our backs, see it? Telling people all sorts of things, and then I miss you. I don't want to hurt you. You've been hurting me since you had me and my son, bitch. So save it, toots. TikTok. That's a head fuck. That's abuse. And our culture is not taught that. You get your truth. This is how you get your truth when people refuse to give you truth. Their non-response to my emails recently is, I received my truth. See that? Because when it comes to email documentation, they don't want to be held in contempt, and they don't want to be that to be used and held in a court of law as perjury documented if they were to email and respond to me saying, I don't know what you're talking about, you're crazy, you know, whatever. If they were to do that, that'll be a document that I would be able to present, and it would be proven that they lied, and they would be held in contempt and perjury. So the lack of response is the answer, unless there's a shutdown of email and other variables that's possible. But in most normal cases, if all the emails are still active, accessible, and all those things, then okay. And it's because, again, abuser families, they do not want to communicate clearly to the target. They want to bait them, they want to breadcrumb them, they want to keep power, control, and leverage and access. So when you cut to the chase and just cut all of the frilly and just state what that is, they can't fade that. They can't fade it. Because what do you do with that? Because everything you're about to type, and again, this is the when the people feel superior to you, and I said feel for a reason. When people feel they're superior to you, they're better than you, they're more deserving than you, they have no respect for you, but they want to send you an email talking about love. It don't make sense when you say it out loud. It looks like schizophrenic. When you say it out loud, it looks schizophrenic, because you're saying to everybody else everything contrary to what you say in an email or on the phone with the person. That looks schizophrenic. Now that looks bipolar. People really want to throw these terms and medical documents and all of this shit in when it comes to trying to steal some shit. That looks schizophrenic. It's like, you just said this shit over here with this motherfucker, and now you send me, I miss mine. No, you don't. You didn't. Y'all was hoping, bitch, our ass, bitch. You're lying. It's no room. See, people use this kind of stuff for their personal vendettas, when they have no respect for you, when you owe them $50. Okay? I have to throw that in there, because people come up with amazing reasons and ways to commit major fraud. Hi, dear. They owe me $1,000. They owe me $300. They owe me $50. Shoot. And they was ungrateful for, the times that I let them sleep on my couch, even though that was really self-serving for me, so that I can get their essence and energy and do weird shit with them and their son, and they like, but people come up with amazing reasons to convince themselves their major federal offense should be done. Their personal vendetta, their secret jealousy, their religious zealot, dogma. but any and every reason as to not. And that should be a reveal to the world, though, the sickness of some of these humans. Because no matter what our paths are and what all those things, and even when we're upset and mad at people, there's no way that I would have ushered up any kind of authority like that. I don't care how upset I am. I don't care how hurt I am. I don't care if I feel like I don't never want to see family member blase, blase, blase again. You know, that's very well and fine, but that's where the line should be drawn and dropped, right there. All this other shit is toxic, and these are the things that really need to be looked at in families. Has no place for that. Somebody was given something for, okay, we'll contact them. They ain't say y'all got to be friends and go have coffee and do nothing. The bottom line is people want to use that to put their own family members in lack. And any healthy being, whether they like their family member or not, is no way, shape, form, or fashion wanting to see them or wishing that upon them, or would be willing to take it as far as to commit fraud. Just to make sure their family member don't have nothing. That nothing that actually belongs to them. Okay, another video. Because see, that's the kind of shit we gonna put out there until enough motherfuckers. Okay? You put the church shit, all put your shit down, because we need to deal with this kind of behavior. Because the hallelujah and glories mean nothing. The sage bundles, the ashes, the namastes, the none of it means nothing when that's our conduct. Okay? So, you got your truth. Now back to the topic about, did I touch on like the whole parenting thing and stuff? You know, these are all things you're gonna pull out. Like, okay, like that don't have nothing to do with what I'm talking about, with what I'm asking, but it's something that's being said to give you some points to clues as to things that might possibly be factors. Now let's move on to a different kind of a conversation you may have. Let's say you have a conversation with another person. Once again, this could be a close friend of the family that was like family, or things of that nature. And as everything with everybody else, you know, you cut the world off. You go off, you're trying to figure things out because of these incessant cycles, these, I heard somebody say the other day, unnatural. Okay, this, you know, we all deal with rejection. We all deal with pain and suffering. We all deal with loss. We all deal with misfortune. But there's something to be said about when something is unnatural. There's a vibe to it, and it's designed to make you feel like something's wrong with you. And it's also designed to make the world, the ignorant world, feel like there's something wrong with you. Unnatural shit. Okay? And you have this conversation, and let's say you decide to put a pin. This is where you're going to figure out this skill. Okay? You decide to put a pin in the aspect to do with the family. Okay? And the reason why you put a pin in that aspect is because, once again, you realize that most people are they're under their spell. People don't believe that's what it is, but it's the truth. They're under their spell. They're engrossed with the narc or the abuser. And so you decide, just so that you don't have to deal with the exhaustion of that, because You learn how to basically narrow down and prioritize and deal with the issue at hand, the immediate issue at hand, rather than all of the variable factors and players involved. So you decide, okay, I'm just going to see, I'm going to test the water. I am going to see who cares. But I'm going to do this without necessarily disclosing about all the players that are involved, and who I suspect involved, because at the end of the day, the players and who we suspect are involved does not matter, rather than the issue at hand is what's of importance. So deciding to test it, you say, let me see. I'm going to see if anybody has any resources, because again, you could be trying to get lawyers, you could be trying to get a fund going, you could be trying to several things. And so it's like, let me put all of my feelers and find out how far engrossed people are, because you really don't know until you do. And this is one of the ways you test it. So you have a conversation, you put a pin in the part about family. The truth is going to be in the conversation. It's going to be in what they say, how they say it, all of those things. Is there a lack of warmth and concern that you receive from the person on the other end? If you're contacting them about something pertaining to the health and well-being and the safety and security of you and your children. And guess what? I need to say this, all should count. It shouldn't have to be somebody is standing outside of your door threatening to shoot you for somebody to take it serious, or for it to be real. Okay? So did you experience any sincere warmth, concern? Those are things to look for. Or did you get into an interrogation and then some kind of like interrogation and example of trying to teach you as if that's what's needing to happen? I love that. But see, that's a tale in itself. It is. It's a tale of how people really see you, what they think, what they believe, and their own personal issues possibly. Because you have somebody, if they condescend something that you say, pay attention to that. It's in the voice. Remember, it's only either 20 or 40% that's verbal in communication. That's a clue. That's going to be a clue. Lack of warmth, that's a clue. If they ask you stuff like, well, what's your plan? And why do you feel they would want to do this? That's interrogation. It's reasonable doubt. It's this energy of, are you sure? In some cases, they're in on it. In some cases, they talked to the narc. Chances are was talking to the narc, texting the narc. The narc did a spell. While you were on the phone. In some cases. And if not a spell, we're just talking the energy of that heavy projection and manipulation. So they're giving you the truth about how they feel about you, what they think, and their level of actual concern. If they, like I said, that's the vibe, ask you what your plan, are they trying to get recon so they can report it to the NARC? Because see, you're calling about, see, let's cut to the chase. In this example for you, it's calling regarding a pertinent and very important situation, should be taken seriously. Not about getting taught on how to problem solve as if that's not something you've been doing, bitch. Not to hear, because a lot of narcissists make it about them. It's not a moment to make it about them and how they do things. If somebody's going through a crisis or a traumatic experience that has the potential to be life-threatening, that's not something to be played with or taken lightly, or to want to have that person go through a PowerPoint presentation, bitch. They teach you, those of you that were in like the humanities industry, and counseling and things of that nature. They're taught about crisis intervention, and there's like this protocol of that ain't you. You're not fencing you don't even know yet. You could be off, way off, in terms of what's this person's development and capabilities and all that. You could be presuming, projecting, and way off. Right now, we're to be assessing the in the now moment situation. If they're being abused and they have gone round for round with the so-called authority and so-called leaders and so-called cops and so-called judicial system and so-called government programs and so-called, they've gone, those parameters, be walked in circles, and then you want them to give you a PowerPoint presentation. Or is it that you just want to hear yourself talk and you want to show that you're what is that? Once again, making it about them. Your reaching out wasn't about, let's talk about how wonderful you are and let's compare who can talk better. And it was about, specifically about a situation, putting your feelers to find out who cared for you. Because see, this is how, on the long haul of your life, we learn how to cut through the chase. If it ends with something like, yes, send me the links to your stuff. They don't reply to that when you send it. See, these are all tells. Standard human behavior and manners and communications is, there's some kind of acknowledgement. They said, yeah, sure, send me those links. Send me those links, I'll see, okay. Well, I'll be praying. I hope it turns out, for you and good, and, as if this is something just regular. It's dead. It's dead. It's clinical. It's lifeless. Well, I hope it works out, and I'll be praying. And I guess that's supposed to make it have something special. I'll good to hear your voice. Yeah, that's the supplies. Feed. my energy. Absolutely. And I don't mean that arrogantly. I mean it in the way of finally valuing my energy. And they say, okay, and that's it. Yeah, we going to this state, going to Africa. I have a feeling that there's some people that's going to try to run and flee the country. I said that in a reading several months ago. I don't know what collective it's for, but there's a reading, might be on here, I think. Yeah, I think it is. I think you just have to type in, if you go like type in my stuff, I think you have to type in something like trying to flee the country, or something like that. You may find it. I think I did it here on YouTube. But I have a feeling that as this unravels, they may have already done this. They may have already preemptively, I don't know. Kind of knowing or seeing where it's going, kind of trying to go to, wherever, Africa, Caribbean, Bahamas, Egypt, which is Africa, but you know what I'm saying, anywhere. Just in case, because I know I'm under investigation. Not just by corruption, but I'm actually under investigation. I'm aware. In the positive side, things have been made alert to either the Department of Justice or what's the other big motherfucker? It's another one that it trumps local, city, state. It's I forget it, but and it prompted something. So I'm under like major surveillance. From one end, the corrupt enterprise, the other end, because whatever got prompted to them, now they all up in the business. So my shit, my device, my accounts, my social media, my moving about to and fro, like they're all up in it. So just in case, that's something, because I understand it came to my attention that it's a complex one. It's a big one and it's a complex one. So just so y'all know, heads up, told you. Told you they finna be on vacation. They is in Africa, bitch. They finna go to Hawaii. They finna go. Well, that's not all the country, but they finna be gone. Anywho, that's what some of them may end up doing if they believe or feel like this thing just might not, because it's like pulling a thread. You know how you start pulling at something and then it just keeps, you thought it was just this little piece you was fencing to just pull, bitch, and then it just turns into this whole shit. And these people, that may be what it is. It's going to turn into some whole shit. Because whoever, the Department of Justice, whoever, nigga, I was going to say the Justice League, start pulling at the thread. But back to the topic. So, again, you still, if that's the case in these conversations, you're still getting truth, which is, it's a positive. There's a silver lining to this. It's not going to always feel that way. That's the ton of betrayal. That's the accumulation. That's the initial blinders coming off about everything that you thought was. Which is it's shocking. That's an initial shocking. But as you move forward in life, It's not going to be like that. It's just going to help you to navigate a little bit quicker, maybe through things, and it won't be as detrimental. We're not going to play those same games with ourselves. We're not going to let shit linger for 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Pretending like we don't see every fucking red flag. You know? And it makes it easier to me. I think it makes it lighter because rather than continuing to beat your head against the wall, continuing to want to have conversations with people who have already decided you're hell-bent on truth and clarity and they're hell-bent on keeping you confused. So it wouldn't matter how you articulate, how you pronounce, how you know, tact, and you can go to Starbucks, bitch. It's not, that's when the goals, I said this at the very beginning of this live, when the goals and the intentions and the motivations, and when there is not mutual honor and respect and dynamic, if there is a lack of respect for you, if there's a false sense of grandeur and superiority over you, then humans have a sense to feel like they are not obligated to be forthcoming, even if it is pertaining to your shit. If they feel entitled. You see that? So it gives you a lighter way of going about life because we can't force that. And that's unnecessary exasperation of effort, which is also a form of supply to narcs. They love seeing people run around in a rat race maze. They love seeing their target, their favorite torture doll. They love seeing. So you think that an energy and a being that is an agent of chaos has any interest at all? Especially if it means it may implicate them in some kind of crime. Save yourself a headache. Save yourself a headache, okay? And this is the realm that we live in. Okay? That entitlement, that greed, there's many out here that is engrossed by greed and entitlement to such a magnitude. Like I tease about my cat, his eyes change and his ears flip back. I'm gonna take a picture if I can catch a picture because I want y'all to see. It's natural. It's not something that he just sits there and go, okay, I think, all right. It's something that kicks in. And the ears get pointy and they go back and they get really fast. Like it's almost like they take a power pellet. My son saw Osiris do that one time and he was like, Mom, because he went and just kind of somersault and jumped and did some crazy shit. It's like he was super fast. We don't know how he just got super fast. And my son was like, oh my gosh. He was like, Osiris is powerful. He, what did he say? I laughed. I was like, yeah. I was like, he on that stuff. And those of us that are old school, from like the 80s and the 90s and stuff, you remember like you may have had family members or lovers or exes that was on, drugs or whatever, cracks and stuff like that. And like it's something that happens to them. They get superpowers. They become they get super, I swear they do. I swear they do. There's something happening with the eyes, and and that's the same shit with the animals. And I believe it's the same shit with humanity. Okay, for those of us that are still kind of locked into that. And that's been our way of life. It's like the thing that you get that on that stuff. The eyes turn to another. It turned to another thing, and the ears, and then you get the Speedy Gonzalez. You just, money, 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 money. Cars, houses. I just got to be a killer. I just got to be a thief. I just got to commit federal offense. Money, money, money. Gone. And so with that moment went all humanity they have. There's a young lady on TikTok, and I reposted her video, and she was trying to help people understand that as targeted individuals, how these ops, these fusion centers, these people that go up to these folks and they tell them to do this. She was like, we gotta understand this shit what it is. They ain't going up to them talking about, there ain't no compassion, bitch, empathy, no. They ain't going up there educating them, nigga, bitch, nothing. They just going to give them orders, point blank, the end. They know most folks is ignorant and desperate. And even if they were not, they know that most just don't fucking care. And it's the truth. I had someone make a comment on one of my content lives that said money is a motivator. Not for all of us. There's a fine line. Not for all of us. Okay? It's like, got a whole lot of people feeling like they got a whole lot of people, that's fucked up, feeling like they got them a real job. That's how they get employed. I made a joke the other day. I stand on it too. I was like, guess the employment pool, up in this bitch. Stalkers, secret stalkers. You get all the homies, honey, and Jazab. All the homies, your whole family and shit, bitch, without any effort whatsoever. Without any effort whatsoever. They make a lot of this stuff obvious too, though. I know I'm off topic because I'm basically done here. I'm done. Especially for observers. And when they've decided to engross and follow you and your kids around all the way up to where they lay their head at, you know what I'm saying, to make sure what's good and plenty infested and contaminated and infiltrated. They make it obvious. They make it very obvious. Many people with really nice cars with no jobs other than to stalk. It ain't tax season. As y'all know how that shit go, don't you? That's classic anywhere, everywhere, especially in the U.S. Okay? So, it ain't tax season. Now, to be fair, we're not referencing the people who do have We're not referencing that bunch of them that have legitimate, and there's nothing wrong with unemployment. That ain't where I'm going. I'm just making a point of how it's made obvious. How you gotta, it ain't tax season, nigga. And you don't have no job. So how you rolling, nigga? Fucking out of nowhere. It ain't tax season, so you ain't got no, you ain't rich, bitch, none of that, nigga. In some cases, though, just being silly. In some cases, this stuff, they give them rentals or they'll give them actual vehicles and stuff like that for the purposes of the assignment. And when it's cult related, sometimes, contingent upon completion of an assignment, that's one of the gifts. But all of these things is why they make themselves obvious. Because, shit costs money. You know what I'm saying? Woo. Shit costs money. Anyway, this concludes. I'll come on later because there's some kind of, I saw 911 again today. I'm like, well, God, good gravy, God, what happened now? I don't even want to hear no more, nothing about no 911. I really don't, because I'm like, to me, it has a negative connotation. But the message was, I saw 911, then my eyes glanced down to, it was a card on the table that said, an enthralling personality, which I thought didn't make sense to be 911, because that's a happy card. I'm like, enthralling personality is not an emergency. So I'm really curious to see what kind of message I get when I meditate further and when I do the reading, because why is that 911? Just saying it don't make sense, huh? 911. Enthralling personality. Okay. We'll see what that's about. But I honor those of you who ends up watching this video at any point. Those of you who are, legit, you ain't on no, you ain't tripping. I honor you. And if you are a survivor or somebody that's a target, I sincerely hope that you are able to apply this kind of stuff in your own unique way in real time. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's about and what it comes down to. Because you're unraveling your life. It is you that's been in the web and the haze of a bunch of bullshit. And living in a world that is primarily narcissistically ruled. Okay? So it's a skills to put in the toolkit of, you gotta be able to be in real time in these conversations and not drive yourself bonkers. And not wait 12 years, because sometimes people are waiting for 12 years. 12 years because they can't. No, you're dealing with a pro manipulator. What did you think was going to happen, honey? What you thought was going to happen? They should have a PhD in fuckology. And in part, now I'm going to remind y'all of what Dr. Ramani said. In the case where it is narcissism, because it's not in all cases, but in the case of where that's the case, there's been some kind of clinical study that says They go into altered states, which is why they themselves believe their delusion. Yep. That's a part of it. Not that it makes it better, not that it makes it okay, not that it means that anybody should try to help them see different and stay and try to fix it. It just simply says the reason why a lot of people go, but they're so convicted about it. They're so like, are you sure? No, they have, that's an altar that they, because that's what they, yeah. Mm-hmm. So what do you do with that in life? What can you really do with that? Nothing. There's nothing you can do about it. Except give yourself a break and accept that that's what it is. If you were to walk into insane asylum, and this person that's there, that's an inmate, and they don't have their capacities, they can't, for whatever reason, we're not going to get into the labels and stereotypes because a lot of that is bullshit in order to torture light ones. But in the case where it's something else, whatever you want to call it, the point, you're not going to go in there and expect an intellectual conversation with a person that is clearly not able. You're not going to try to reword it. You're not going to try to put no sugar and spice on it. You're not going to draw pictures. You're not going to do any of that because you are fully accepting. It's not that you're judging that person. It's not that you're hating and wishing ill onto the being. You're simply just accepting that they are not capable. You can sit there all you want. You can bring in suckers, lollipops, ice cream cones, any and everything you think that person may love. You are not getting a serious, clear, congruent, depth, honest, present, true conversation with that person. It's not going to happen. And it's not a slight against them because who knows what happened to them. That's why I'm emphasizing that it's not about judging that being or presuming that you're better than them. It's about assessing that you can bring all your tools, all you got. This is not happening. So what do? Do you keep trying? You can send love to the being. If they, if you know them, you can shake their hand, kiss their forehead, whatever you want to say, because that's as far as it's gonna go with that. You're not gonna go anywhere else. I believe that helps us. I'm not saying we should feel sorry. I'm just saying it is, man, get you off that rat reel, man. Shit. Because they laughing. They get a kick out of that shit. Woo. Let's do this. See what happens. See what they do. See how hard they try and how long. So, float on. And move on to maybe something where you can get to the truth. And as I mentioned, I know somebody out there is going to say, based on your example, you know that you can get this information professionally if there was anything ever at all, even if it's no longer. you know that you can get this information. I do know that. And so we all have our process to see if the humans, as I mentioned earlier, would have the courage to be forthcoming or not. Because one way or other, we're going to get to the truth, and we are getting to the truth. And the reason why that has come here for us is because of this incessant persistence with trying to put us in poverty, so that we can be further abused and marginalized and restricted, so that the narcs and their narc harem and realms could have their access and have their way. So that we are not able to more readily and easily do all of the things to continue to alchemize and heal and move on. Once upon a time, it was something I was prepared to let go of. I am no longer willing to do that. The fact that they continue to sabotage and continue to work behind the scene with authority figures and, doing rituals and connecting with their corrupt friends in low, high places and, continuing to attempt to poison me and my son or have access to our space so they can put their nasty, narcodocious shit, you know what I'm saying? Sprinkle, sprinkle. The fact that that's something that they continue to do on top of their previous violations is a part of why this collective is no longer willing to let nothing go. Nothing. So we will be pursuing, as it pertains to theft of our intellectual creative property, we will be logging into the FBI for that. Anything to do with anything that was capitalized for other people, any checks that was stolen, all of it, now we're going to pursue it. This incessant attempt to entrap us, to get into trouble, to get us caught up in some legal issues, to trigger us to do shit, to try to destiny swap, to make it seem like we're stalkers and we're vitamin and we're, the thieves, and the fact that that's what's being done is why we're fully pursuing legal. In every way we've been violated. Because these unfair costs is something else that's unacceptable. Unacceptable. It's funny how things could have went another way. I still laugh at this to this day. They wanted so badly for the collective to be at the bottom of the barrel. They wanted to break our lives, children and all, with a holy, wonderful, good guy, good girl self. It's not even that. They just want us to be rich and wealthy, which is wrong. They didn't want us to even have the bare minimum. So they can all feel like not losers. So that they can feel superior and like they did something other than totally curse their whole bloodline. This is what they did. It's the fact that they have no empathy, compassion, or regard. Looking at our children like batteries, and then chew them up and spit them out like dry bones. Bless the Lord. Fake ass. No regard for that. The fact that they actually physically tried to alter our health and well-being is enough for me. It's like, oh, you was on that stuff. That's what you was on. You was on that stuff, wasn't you? You on that stuff? You on that stuff? You lost your mind. Yeah, you did. Because you thought that was a good idea. That's why you lost your mind. Thought that was going to sit well, huh? Not. All this shit could have went different. Collective feels this way. It didn't even have to remotely at all. Oh, all this shit could have went a whole nother way. Because y'all ain't even tripping like people really think you are. You're not. It's these intrusions, these violations, and the persistence. You're really not. There are people out here thinking that you trying to take their man or woman. And you're really not. There's people that's convinced of that, and they feel some kind of way. You ain't. You ain't tripping. This is unacceptable, the position that was created, so now I'm going to give them hell. Now I have all my capacities to do whatever the fuck it takes to get to the truth. And as life go on, because this is my life, the way I conduct and operate is very odd and very unique. If anybody was to observe, but I have accepted that this is what it is, at least for now. Because of what I know that me and my son are dealing with, no matter who want to play that headbutt game, pretend like they don't know, or even for those who actually don't know. Because I am in the long game. I know how this year is going to possibly end. So everything I do is logged. Everything. And in those investigations is where they're going to be able to see with that information what they need to see. Because you get to a place where you kind of get tired of, being this kind of triggered puppy that everybody's getting their amusement off of. Ooh, let's drive around in circles like maniacs and rev up our engines. Ooh, let's flash our lights in front of them in their children's eyes. Ooh, let's purposely continue to walk across them to get into their energy. Let's continue to peep our big heads out the hallway because somebody texted us that they over there by the gym. Woo, 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 woo. Let's see, let's see. Let's go to the store and they go, woo. Let's suddenly come on and look at the apartment complex and ask if there's any opening. Woo, woo. Let's suddenly need to, almost like the car came out from the heavens, to suddenly at the just right moment. Woo, let's suddenly need to go check the mail. Let's drive in circles and be weird and sit in the parking lot and drive around. And then just sit there and shoot the lights. Woo! Let's look out our windows of our phones and start typing. Woo! Woo! Flashing lights and pictures and shit. Okay. Yeah, we're over it. All we're doing now is just going to record and log. We're going to do it in a way that's honorable and respectful and legal. But we're going to do it, no doubt. How else do you get to the truth? If they won't take you seriously otherwise, how else do you get to the truth? I spoke with the FBI recently. And you know what I found fascinating? I did. I actually spoke with the FBI. And now this is what I found fascinating about it, though, okay? Because I'm doing a lot of research, and so I was like, oh, okay, and I was looking into it, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna call and see what I'm gonna tell and see what, just out of curiosity. I really wasn't expecting anything to come from it. I was just, I'm doing my research. And one of the statements they have on their website, and it's what their agents, will tell you when you get on the phone, as a default statement and stuff, like if you don't have any real substantial or something supporting something that they put like this, they might not. They don't say that they're not going to take it seriously. They just say they might not. And when I heard that, that's what made me feel like what I feel like. Because how are you supposed to do that? You're living life, you're trying to anyway, and when you're dealing with something, because I think I asked her about how is it done, if it's something like a criminal enterprise and it's more macro, or how does all that apply? Because again, this is something that's professionally done. Who got that? You ain't no private detective. This is where I feel like there's too many damn holes in the judicial system that's not really working for the real, works more for criminals than anything else, in my opinion. Because what do you mean? So you won't really take it serious but then there's so many restrictions and limitations as to how you can even get that. And then resources is always a factor. What are you supposed to do with that? Everybody ain't got no trillion dollars, bitch, to hire a reputable private investigator. a reputable that's going to, you know what I'm saying, basically follow suit with whatever the court, you know, the proceedings and all the way stuff. That's money, baby. That's money, honey. See how it's like set up that way, isn't it? This is why hopefully, if you're a targeted individual, you are an I hope. I'm gonna rephrase that. I ain't gonna say hope. It's ill-advised to put all of your trust and all of your eggs in the basket of thinking and believing that um, it's going to turn your favor. It may very well. Some of you it is, and it might be because of some other higher power, some other shit that's gonna come in and just chop them down, niggas and shit. It's just gonna be a pause. You're done. You come here, bring your ass in. Sweating, his eyebrows lit up on fire and shit. Okay, for some of us that may be why, but don't bank on that. Always have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Don't rely on no one thing. That's wisdom. I made my final determination one way or the other. And sometimes you have to do that because we don't always get in the physical, you don't always really get justice. We see this in TV, we see it every day, everywhere. But you can show the fuck, bitch. You can show the fuck. Make sure that you get justice. That it vibrates, that it is deeply felt, manifested, and realized. And this is especially the case when the powers that be exploit their power. Okay. Anyway, let me go and around my mouth. I'm glad I came back because, yeah. Gotta go help my boys, my cat, and they're my sons and my boys. I got 2 boys, and Osiris gets jealous of his big brother. Yes, he does. When I go in his room, my son's room, and I'm like doing energy work, you know, on him or helping him. He's laying down. I'm running, you know, frequencies and codes, and you know, I think I brought him some water because you have to drink. You're supposed to drink water when you're doing a major flush of frequencies a lot because it's a lot. It's hitting your system hard. It's hitting hard too, and the body. It takes a hit and it has to recalibrate, and it helps it to like flush. So I was like brought him some water and was asking him, trying to gauge what was happening with him and how was it feeling and all of that. Osiris came in there, jumped on. He jumps on the bed. He jumps on his brother because it's, you know, my son, he's on the bed. He jumps on the bed on top of his brother. And at first I was like, oh, how cute. He's going to come play. You know, he wants to help his brother. You know, He came and jumped on top of his brother and had his eyes all bugged out, was looking at me and kind of like that look that he wants when he wants me to pay him attention. I laughed. I thought it was cute. I was like, oh. I was like, he want him murder. And then he started patting him, and then he started purring out as well. I was like, I was like, see, look, you don't want me giving him brother no attention. Anyway, okay, guys, enjoy y'all Sunday or whenever you see this video out there. Be wise, be careful, be safe, and yeah, you're not an inconvenience and a bother. We got to work a lot through that because of our trauma, conditioning, the abuse and all of that, narcissistic types kind of beat into you. They're usually the world's greatest drama queen, bitch fit, nigga fit type motherfuckers. But for you, the fact that you breathe and exist and have wants, goals, needs, and desires, you extra, you too much. You just, oh, yeah, that ain't true. That's all been to shape you into, you know, walking away from yourself, neglecting yourself, and accepting less as normal. That's all that shit is. Mm-mm-mm.